It's time to take A Therapeutic Dose, a prescription-strength reality TV podcast that explores the intersection of reality TV and therapy. Possible side effects may include entertainment, strong emotional reactions, and/or laughter. Here are your hosts, Ramona Ramirez and Margee McGee.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Therapeutic Dose, where we meet at the intersection of reality TV and therapy. I am Margee McGee, and with me, as always, is my dear friend and co-host.
Hello. Hi, Margee. Hi, everyone. I am Ramona Ramirez. Margee, as usual, it's wonderful to see you. Here we are, both in glasses.
I know.
I love
I'm having
it.
a rough morning. My
No,
eyes aren't
dude, you
working,
look
so
fucking adorable.
they're
You're
here. They're
adorable
here
in your
today.
glasses. I love it. I love it. Okay. This episode just did not, it was a fantastic finale, IMHO. And it was chock full. It definitely made me work when I was taking my notes. There was rarely any downtime. I watched it on Peacock. We're going to be talking about season 11, episode 15, the season finale of Vanderpump Rules. Plot twist.
Yeah, it was just, the awful people Olympics. And Lala took the
Truly.
gold, if you ask me.
Lala,
She was so atrocious in this. I mean, this whole season, but this episode really was like greatest hits of everything that makes her an asshole.
it was a dry drunkapalooza.
Yeah,
It was
totally.
a envy in boldface, italicized, massive font with serifs. Sorry, typeface. Ooh. Nope. We don't use the word font in this house.
That's right. There's a graphic designer under that roof.
Yeah,
so.
we don't use the word font. We use the word typeface.
Good to know. Good to know.
Shout out to my husband, who is, unfortunately, he's down with COVID for the very first time since we started this fakakta bullshit 4+ years ago. Luckily, our son and I haven't caught it, and I think we should be in the clear. I'm grateful that he's able to quarantine, but he is the most careful person I know about this.
Yeah.
And he had to go out of town for work last week. He was in Sin City for a conference, and the sin caught him off guard. But
I mean, as I was telling you, I don't know anyone who comes home from Vegas without some sort of infection, and COVID is the easiest to catch. And fortunately, I'm glad that he's fully vaccinated. So hopefully his system will manage this okay. But either way, get well soon, Josh. I know it sucks.
Yeah,
It sucks
it
to sit in a
does.
bed alone and not feel great.
I have a feeling I am so glad that he can convalesce right now and that I'm able to take the full brunt. Like it's not easy. I don't know. Shout out to single parents. Shout out to single parents. I don't know how you do it. I have had to muster up a level of organization last week while he was out of town and this week while he's resting, while Josh is resting. I've had to access a level of organization that I didn't think I had in me, but it feels so good. Well, ask me at like 5:30 when my brain is done answering questions other than what am I going to make for dinner? What time is it? Is it time to start the bedtime routine? Like I can no longer answer questions like, why do bees like to fly in the water? I don't know. Well, can you look it up? Like I can't look it up. Partly because I don't give a shit what the answer is. Partly because I I cannot stop what I'm doing right now and then expect that I will be able to pick it back up after I'm done looking up something like that. So, and it's not Leo's fault, and he misses his dad tremendously right now,
What a lovely feeling. Again, I
but
can't say enough. I don't know. I always feel it's important to point that out to my friends who are raising kids, that they're raising kids with a dad that the kid likes and
dude,
misses. When our dad left the house, we were like, woo.
honestly, it was like ding dong, the witch is dead, la 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 la. Yes, it was like freedom.
Yeah, to have like a dad who's engaged enough for his kid to be like, oh, I miss that presence.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
And he misses the crap out of us,
Yeah, I'm sure.
But he's he needs to be resting more, you know, even when he doesn't have COVID. And so I'm you know how I learned this, especially when cultivating a relationship with a higher power or a universe, you know, whoever you pray to or whoever you feel gives you your spiritual center, that person, that entity tries to get your attention. Like, you know, you need to rest, you need to rest. And if you don't listen, like, you need to rest. Oh, I should rest. That's being hit with a feather. And then it's like, okay, you need to rest. Okay, I'll do it tomorrow. Right now I got to do this. And he got hit with a rock or with a hammer or whatever. What was the saying? You got hit with a feather and then
I don't
whatever.
know. A
So
stick?
a
I don't know.
stick, yeah. So basically I think that it was time. It was time for Josh to take some legit uninterrupted resting time.
Mm.
And I'm having a great time like waiting on him and bringing him stuff that he didn't even ask for, but I think it would be nice for him to have. And it feels really good. It feels good to be altruistic and it feels good to live up to my vows. You know what? This is going to be my antidepressant, but I guess I just went into this. I don't even remember how I brought this up.
I
Jesus
don't
Christ.
remember either because we both have ADD, but
Oh,
I love what you're
dads.
saying. Oh, dads, right,
We were talking
yes.
about our dads. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so Josh is miserable not being able to interact with me and Leo. I personally am loving having the time I get while Leo is at school and Josh is downstairs sleeping. Like,
Mhm.
I have my favorite music on. I just, no one is chattering, whether it's welcome or not. I just like to have uninterrupted thoughts. So I'm getting them
So
right now.
funny.
Yeah, I
I was
know.
over working with the writing partner at her house the other day, and she was telling me how, like, someone in her household unplugged her Oculus, which she uses to work out, and she's like, "I just lost my shit on everyone," and she went to her husband and was like, "Don't you miss living alone? I do!" Like, just for the simple fact of she'd come home from work and she'd had 8 days in a row of working out, and now her Oculus is whatever. Anyways, it just makes me laugh that, like, there's the grass is green
The
on both
grass is,
sides, but
man, 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 man.
I know, but, I
I
could
know.
I could I could dispel that myth if you want, but I also feel like I really felt her frustration, and I can understand why it's nice for you to have, headspace completely to yourself.
It is. It's if I didn't have like yesterday, Wednesdays, Leo's school gets out an hour and a half early. And so Wednesdays are my least favorite days because I have to like really be on my shit to get stuff done. And I'll wrap it up. I recognize that last week's episode was extremely long, but this does have to do with my mental health. So I feel that it's relevant. Wednesdays I dread because I don't have as much freedom as I do the other days of the week. And so like when I have time to have the quiet thoughts, I'm more equipped to be able to do stuff after school when he gets back. If I don't, then I'm not resentful of him. I'm just resentful of the situation. I'm not in very
Mhm,
much acceptance about it because when I was a child, I didn't have any agency over my life or my choices or my needs or my wants. We were on the dictator's schedule, uh, volume control, attitude control, word control. Like we were just under an iron fucking fist.
mhm.
We weren't in a gulag, but we weren't, you know, I did not have a fraction of the freedom that my kid has because he doesn't live in fear. And that's what we all want when we raise that next generation. We want our kids to, feel free to say whatever. I don't want him to be snotty to be on purpose constantly. But when he is, if he's hangry, he can act like a real jerk. Oh, I hate saying that about my kid, but
Aw.
what I'm saying is like
It's circumstantial.
it's
It's
circumstantial.
if he's
Yes.
hungry,
Yeah.
movie.
So
It happens.
anyway, um, It's fine. Everything's great. Everything is great. On the grand scheme and the cosmic scoreboard, I got nothing to complain about. So, except for Lala.
Oh man, boy, she really is just a tour de force of terribleness. So this was a beast, this episode. This
This
was
episode was
long as fuck,
relentless. Yep.
but it was sort of like same song, different verse.
Yep.
So I will try not to repeat my angry rants that I've had throughout the season because they every single one of them came up again. And I'll just, I'll try to keep it short because it's all the same stuff.
It's
None of these people
I
are evolving. It's all just a huge long
Wow.
bummer.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you saw the meme that I posted on my Instagram stories. I need to start posting more stuff on the Therapeutic Dose Instagram versus just my personal one, but I have ADHD and that feels like a huge task, and it's literally not. It's literally just like a couple more pressing on a screen. Oh, shit. No one needs to hear that. I'm sorry. God, who cares? Why do I feel the need to include minutia about everything? Over-explaining, because
I
I'm an
get
adult
it.
child, I'm an alcoholic.
Yes, and I
Gotta
get it.
over-explain
It's
everything.
about building a habit. Everything it feels to me incredibly intimidating until I've done it a bunch of times, and then it becomes part of my routine, and I forget I ever didn't know how to do it. But
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
starting a new habit ain't easy. Anyways, the meme.
But the meme is, it's I think it said, like, Tom Sandoval at the, end of the Vanderpump Rules season finale, and it was a photo of Robert Durst in the very last episode of season 1 of The Jinx where he's like, "Of course, I killed them all." And it's
That's a
like
brilliant. That is exactly what it
because the
was.
way he ended it, like, "It's gonna look great for me," like, there you go.
And that high-pitched
There you
maniacal
go.
laugh of like
Yeah. He's not in this. He is not doing what he says he's doing. This man had so many agendas. Yeah, man, he really kicked up my dad stuff in the fact that his behavior was just so
It is all a
familiar.
performance. Hearing him at the end there, it had that, like, Kaiser Soze from The Usual Suspects effect where I started building backwards and I'm like, "Oh my god, this
Yes.
whole entire season has been a performance,"
Yes.
and he's been building his performance to the finale episode. Ariana's right, he's so conscious of and he even said, I don't know if you Watch What Happens Live after, but
I
he was on
did.
with Jax and he was saying, like, that's what's expected of us in a finale. Like, you have to have the tough conversations. And it's like, you've missed the point of a reality show, which is that, like, we'll script that for you and you can audition to act in something like that. But the point with this, and yes, of course, the finale episode, things come to a head, but there's producers for that.
Right.
You can just try to live your life and be a person, but he's so sculpted and crafted physically and mentally, and the problem is he's an idiot, so it all goes left.
Oh, and I think, yeah, he's not. You know how at the end of Beverly Hills, I I was trying to refer to someone as a stealthy assassin, but, like, Kathy's not smart enough to be a stealthy assassin, and Tom Sandoval is not. He is a stealthy assassin in his mind, but in real life,
He's a fucking
he's
clod, he's an
separated from
ogre,
reality. Yeah.
he's
It's
an idiot.
wild.
Yeah, and he's found a way to justify his behavior, and you can see how comfortable he is, and, like, this whole episode again, like, he relies on money, and Brock and Scheana are dumb too, and so they're like, "He's a really good friend," and it's like, "Is he? Who is he without money?" If money is pulled out of the equation, what makes Tom Sandoval a good friend? Because everything you listed is he transferred money to you when you were in trouble. He flew out this guy to set up your sound equipment. He bought this band to everything you're saying is attached to a monetary string. And I don't know, you watched the Peacock version as did
I
I,
did. Yeah.
because we had a little extra time this morning. So I got to do that, which was a thrill because I saw the scene where after Scheana performs, the band is like, "Do you want to be part of the band?" That was Tom Sandoval's doing. He's going to rope her into touring with him. He's money, 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 money. It's all connected to money. It's not him being like, "You're an amazing artist. I want to support you. What do you want to do?" It's like, "I'm going to hire a sound guy. I'm going to hire a band. I'm going to tell them to ask you to be part of it. Like, it's all so manipulative and self-serving that it's really hard for me to see what is palatable about Tom Sandoval if he doesn't have access to money. Who is he if he has no access to money?
Um, I I don't know who he is without his name on a restaurant,
Mm. Mhm.
his name on a bar, his name on his band. Yeah, and I actually I was thinking about all the way back to season 9 when he did Rachella. That
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
that wasn't out of the good.
No.
Everything he does is to make himself look a certain way. He's cultivating an image, and it's not we are not stupid. He is
And
divorced from reality, so he thinks it's working.
But he thinks he's plugged into reality because Rachella was also a finale episode. And so he
Oh my
also said
god.
back then, this is what you do for a finale. I wanted the finale to be big and explosive. So I
Oh,
bought
that's
fireworks.
right.
It's none of it is out of the goodness of his heart. It's like a ratings ploy, but for his own personal like star meter. Like he's so corrupt. It's shameful.
He's morally corrupt. You're right.
Mhm.
He's morally and spiritually and emotionally corrupt. That's a perfect way.
And it
He's
really shines
to
in this
describe it.
episode, like, that moment where he's in the hotel room with Tom Schwartz saying, like, "I'll be there for Ariana if she comes to me in hours, days, weeks, months, years, decades, I'll be there for her." Cut to the last scene where he's like, "That performative lazy ass." I was like, "Oh, I don't think he knows who he is." I think his agenda is his identity, and I think that is terrifying. Yikes. But it was on full display in this finale. We've got
It pages, my god, pages.
yeah. But we
Um,
start in the San
yes.
Francisco hotel with we opened our conversation today pre-recording by saying, "We love that Dan.
We love Dan.
Dan's wonderful.
Dan is
Legitimately wonderful, demonstratively wonderful."
agreed. 100% agreed. And I yeah, I wrote the same thing. He was a big top of a conversation with every little scene we saw in that morning waking up montage. Everyone was talking about Dan.
Mhm.
Everyone was talking about Dan, and, um, he reminds me a little bit of Josh in that, like, Ariana's barely wiping the sleep from her eyes. He's already fully dressed, leans across the bed to give her a kiss and says, "I'm gonna
Mhm.
go get you coffee. I'm gonna go get you coffee."
And not a
And
dumpling latte like
not a dump
TM,
right,
registered trademark for the camera.
exactly,
Just like,
exactly.
"I'm up and I love you, and I'm gonna
Right.
go get you something that I know will make you getting out of bed, more fun. So
Yep, yep.
here I go,
And I just
for fun
mentioned
and
that
for
because
free."
exactly, he just "Oh, sorry, I just dropped my clog on the ground." I'm wearing shoes in my booth when I don't have to even wear fucking pants because no one can see me above the navel.
It's Porky
But
Pigging it behind the mic.
but oh my god, can you imagine? No, I've never done that, but yeah, I'm so sick of not, like, wearing real clothes this week, just because 'cause I've been, like, in full fucking mom mode. Not that
Mhm.
moms don't care. I do, I care a big amount, but it's, like, just fucking triage, so it's been a lot of sweats. My
Yeah.
point is, Dan is great. Then, all I can say about Lala is that her brain is so taken over by Dan and Ariana, and she's scraping at the bottom of the barrel in her conversation with Katie to try to make Dan look like someone that he's not. She is just
It's
I
a hilarious fool's errand because she tries in this conversation with Katie to make him seem like a douche, like, "Ariana said that he blah, 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 he'd never even shake his hand," and Katie did the Justin Bieber meme where she was like, immediately, "No." She's like, "No, actually, he's just the sweetest person," and Lala's like,
yeah,
I don't know," and then she spends the rest of the episode, like, trying to find a flaw, and there is not one, and also, why? The interrogation of a 40-year-old man? Give me a break, and who are you? I'm not taking you seriously if you're like, "Oh, what are your intentions?" It's like, you brought that sweaty sack of crap rand onto the screen. I'm not listening to you vetting me. Get out of here, you
Exactly.
dickhead.
She was so full fucking hips so many times in
Yes.
this episode,
Yes.
and she's also just for someone who has claimed this whole fucking season that she's soft, and that I thought about when I was watching last night, and I watched on Tuesday on Bravo on Tuesday night too. I had to sit through this episode twice. I didn't have to, I chose to, but it was a slog, like, it was a slog. The
It's a
last 6
lot.
minutes were great, but, like,
Yeah.
it was a slog. My point is, she how many episodes back when she goes to Sandoval's house he invites her over to do that healing breath work and she says no, but she comes over later and they're having that conversation. And then in her confessional in right after that scene, she says, I know I can sleep at night. That's all I know that I can sleep at night. Like she has nothing, her life is so clean that she doesn't have anything burdening her thoughts and she can sleep at night. And I'm like, you are a liar. And again, the lady doth protest too much about being in her soft era, and she protests too much about being honest, and she protests too much. Protest, thou dost. Jesus, I don't have any business trying
Shakespeare.
to quote
Whatever.
Shakespeare right now. My point is that she's a liar.
No,
She's lying
it's
to herself.
she just exemplifies, projection throughout this whole everything that she
My
has to say
God,
about Ariana only
brilliant.
applies to her,
Yep,
and I don't think you can sleep well at night if you're that obsessed with someone else. If you're
exactly.
that obsessed with how Ariana is showing up for her call times, you're not you don't sleep well at night. And again, like you always say, if there's one finger pointing out, there's three pointing back at you. So
Yep,
everything that you
yep.
have to say with so much judgment about Ariana, like it applies to her. And she tries to own it at the end by being like, look, I lied for a minute and I was suffocated. And I'm like, whatever, we'll get there. But
Yes,
Ariana, just to be clear, Ariana never lied. Ariana is trying to process a grotesque betrayal. She didn't lie. Lala did. Sandoval did. It's just so weird how the energy is shifting to be mad at Ariana when this absolute criminal scumbag is dictating the rules of the group. It's really weird.
it's really weird. And the fact that they are both so not just willing, but, like, chomping at the bit to double down.
Mhm.
They can't wait to double down, and I don't listen, it's not me. I'm just here to talk about it.
Right? And, along those lines, we check in with the Toms who talk about
Yes.
Schwartz's toes, about his fingers looked like toes or I don't know, they're whatever. I'm glad they're friends. That's sort of all I can say about that. Then we get into Scheana and Brock, where Brock is, Brock asks how Sheena's feeling the morning after their big conversation, and she claims to still be concerned if he's being genuine or if he's playing her, and that she has a hard time trusting anyone. And I just want to amend that to be like, it's not anyone, it's just him. So he's the one who did this, and you should not trust him. And yet you're bending over backwards to try and force him down his ex girlfriend's throat in this episode every chance she gets. And this is where Brock is, just he's simple. And so his assessment is that Tom reaches out and is generous without being asked. And again, that's manipulation because it's all financial. I don't hear Brock saying, he came over to get me out of bed when I was going through a tough time. It's just like he transferred money, he bought this, he bought that. And yeah, I just think there's something a little suspect about that being the only way that you're of service.
I agree. I wrote down that he's grooming. He's grooming his
Yeah.
fucking friends. He's grooming his friends, like, "Oh, here, I brought you a water. Oh, here, yeah, I brought my sound guy." You know?
It
All of
is.
these things, loaning Brock money, right? Because he loaned Brock money,
He
correct?
gave them
Yeah,
money.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, that's right.
But you're absolutely right because what it does is it makes it harder for people to leave, and it makes them feel beholden to stay. So he gets them on two folds. He attacks their need for comfort and everyone's sort of, default to greed. But then there's that added hook of like, and you kind of owe him and that will always haunt you. You can't make a clean decision. It's why I, broke away from my dad financially in college because I was like, every penny I get from this man comes with expectations and openings to say whatever he wants, do whatever he wants. And the second I broke financially, there was a whole new freedom. And it, caused new problems in that relationship. But like I was able to like have some autonomy. And nobody's autonomous when you're financially hooked
No.
in with Tom Sandoval. He has
No, not
expectations
with
and
Tom
he
Sandoval.
says as much at the end when he's like, you're gonna go through some really hard shits being on my side. So you know what you're doing. You're buying them. You're buying their tolerance of hate on your behalf.
I
Yucky.
mean, does he think he's fucking Jon Snow right now, rallying the wildlings and Sansa and Daenerys? Like, does he really think that he's that clever? He's
He's
not.
believing in the proposition that this season is his redemption arc. I don't see that coming to fruition, especially not with the last frame of this episode.
Bruh.
But I think he fully believes it, and he's convinced himself that what he did wasn't so bad and it's actually Ariana's fault, so everyone can get over it, And look at all the other nice things I do. I flew out Hassan. So,
Dude. I
okay.
mean I mean, and who knows if did they flash a chyron over what the name of his
Company.
his sound company is? Because, I mean, that could also be a thing too, like, "Hey, man, you'll get on camera and then, blah, blah."
I wouldn't put it past him to be
Right,
manipulating every angle of
right,
this, but
right.
it just none of it's clean and it all
Yep.
feels again, it just all feels in service to himself. And
Yeah.
that means that that's like the most unstable ground for me to be on in a friendship because the second I no longer serve your purposes or meet your needs, you'll just walk away. Usually not walk away, usually just like kick me and then and then bolt and never look back and then, it's weird.
It is.
I don't like him. Anyways, Brock, yeah, whatever. We covered this. Our
Yeah,
Scheana
yeah.
does so Brock says that action-wise, Sandoval seems to be the better friend out of Tom and Ariana, and Scheana does counter saying that Ariana may be the friend that won't show up and always wants to be invited, but she'll never turn her back on her because she's been a good friend. And this again was a moment in their relationship that I liked. Like Brock acknowledges like Scheana has a dog in the fight and he backed off his position on Sandoval immediately and, he's willing to listen and change his mind. And it happens a few times in this episode with Brock that he's so firmly dug in on something and then someone says something and he's like, yeah, no, you're right. Like at the Chinese lunch when Ariana points out, like, Katie is actually also defending your wife. And he goes, oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Immediately, when we're wrong, promptly admitted it. Immediately, you're
That
right. I'm
was
sorry.
great. Right. Ah, I
Get it, buddy.
he lost a lot of my goodwill in this
In this
episode.
episode? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Brock did. Yeah. Yeah, he did.
He's just so dumb. I think he gets lost in the intricacies of relationships. I
I
think
think you're right.
I kept thinking of there's this exercise and the groundlings that you make people do where they have to place whatever adjustment you give them to like a 10 plus plus. And I feel like someone gave Brock the adjustment of support your wife. And so no matter what, no matter what, he tries to do that. And it comes out in really misguided ways sometimes. But I feel like he is singularly focused on I'm going to support Sheena. I'm going to get flowers on the floor and chocolates on the bed. I'm going to say Sandoval's a better friend because he gave you money. No, is that wrong? That's wrong. Okay. Then I'm going to say, never mind. You have a dog in the fight and I like your point of view. And like, he's just
Yeah.
constantly like in ready position in tennis to like field whatever.
I mean, he literally was at the end when her dress, the zipper broke,
Yeah.
and he ran to get the coat, and then
Hmm.
he came back, and that's not it? Okay, and he ran. I thought that was adorable. He was like,
He's
"Okay,
trying so hard. It's really
yeah,
sweet.
okay." I mean, he didn't lose all my goodwill. He just lost a significant chunk. I
Yeah.
just felt like he don't talk about what you don't know.
Right. But when it's brought to his attention, he backs down,
Yeah.
and that is unusual and unique in this group, especially of dudes.
Yeah.
Oof.
I wonder if this is the first time he's encountered someone, a male friend at that, that has had this kind of behavior. Like,
Sandoval, you mean?
yeah, like Sandoval,
Yeah,
like, has
it's
he encountered a
startling.
personality like that? Because
No.
he's just buying it and buying it.
It's like, I mean, and I am aware of this personality. I've dealt with it in therapy to try to identify it and avoid it. But when you get involved with someone like that, for me, it takes me a long time to I cannot believe that they're actually that bad. It is so
Mhm.
hard for me to on a cellular level conceptualize that someone can actually be that vile. So it takes them proving it to me. I have to put my
Right.
hand on the hot
Right,
stove
right.
over and over and over and over again until I'm like blistered and calloused. And it's finally less painful to not give them one more chance and just
Yeah,
see
you're
than it
right.
is to back away from the stove. And like, I feel like Brock and Sheena are both struggling with that. They just can't believe that Tom Sandoval is who he proved himself to be, and it's not even about the affair. Affairs happen. It's about, like you said, how he's behaved on the other side, doubling down on everything, blaming Ariana, being entitled and just, ugh, yucky.
Yeah, he's abandoned hope, ye all who enter into a relationship with that man, friendship or otherwise.
Preach.
So we move on to the cable cars, and the gray weather, just the constant San Francisco gray, just that fucking relentless gray. Yes, there are a handful of days when it's not relentlessly gray, but it's just that gray. It's just that oppressive gray. And they're on the cable cars, and it's real fun for them, and, and whatever. I just made the
You're
I don't
having none of it.
one that hand gesture. And then Lala, again, because she hasn't her teeth haven't sunk, like, her jaw hasn't clamped down enough on the, you know, arm that is Ariana and Dan. She has to ask Ariana on the cable car, "Do you think you would have come if that other person was here?" And Ariana is just not gonna take it. She's like, "I don't know. Maybe. I don't know."
And
Like,
who
why do you give
cares?
a shit, Lala?
Exactly.
Why do you give a shit?
And she just like read the vibe. Like everyone's having fun. James is saying hello,
Right?
San Francisco. Brock is like, I'm Mrs. Doubtfire. Like it's just cute and fun times on a trolley. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden she's like, would you have been here if Sandoval had come? And everyone's like, oh my God,
Rent free,
probably
man.
not. Like I don't, but it doesn't matter. It's not relevant and it's not a conversation. It's just, she's just being, this again is where I feel like Lisa Vander puppetry is entering in. I feel like Lisa gave her the assignment of like, go hard on Dan, like really get in there and expose him for the nicest guy in the world that he is.
I mean, yeah, until we learn otherwise, but everything we've seen about him, he looks like the kind of person he could take or leave being on camera.
For sure.
He's not doing anything in an ostentatious way. I feel like if he has no experience being on camera, he's not gonna know what to do. I mean, maybe he does. I don't know if the man makes reels or TikToks or
He does,
whatever,
but
like,
they're of like meat and scallions. You know what I mean? It's like meal prep. It's not like
"Oh my god, he's a meal prep
he's not like,
guy."
hey guys, it's just hands
Yeah.
and like he has nice kitchenware. I'll give him that.
He's so I just liked him more and more.
Me
This
too.
whole this whole you know, maybe Dan for Ariana is she has one person that she can go to the dairy for to get her milk, and that's Katie Maloney. Everyone else is not there for her 100% or unconditionally, or the way that I would expect people that I've been friends with for that long to be there for me. Or
At a
to
time like
understand
this, especially.
exactly at a time
Mhm.
like this, a critical time, like a time that you rally around that person no matter what. And I feel like Dan is an example of going to the dairy for milk. And I don't know. I don't give a shit what the hell their timeline is on their relationship. I don't care how many days after. I don't care.
I don't either.
you
And also
know?
that whole argument when Lala's like, "She moved on 8 days later." I'm like, "She didn't move on. She was falling off a cliff, and he extended a hand, and she grabbed it." Like, I just any onus of this going back on Ariana at any time ignites this, like, white heat inside my body where I'm like, "Sandoval did it."
Right.
She is just reacting and trying to
Ooh,
survive.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
Katie said, he made choices for months. So, Ariana didn't. She got all the information real late in the game, and she's just trying to not fall over. Like, I don't know.
yeah. So, yeah, Lala's again, a large portion of the real estate of her brain is, um is taken up with Ariana and Dan, and it's very repellent and repugnant to watch.
And I
I don't
will
like it.
say again, I don't know, I am just since it's the last episode of the season, I'm just really making my final campaign for Brock Davies. I really appreciated him in the restaurant. So Lala keeps coming at Dan with like all of these questions and like, would you have come? And why didn't you hang out the other night? And in the Chinatown restaurant, Brock, like somebody makes fun of how Schwartz poured his beer, and Brock so kindly included Dan and was like, "You know what? Let's talk to Dan, a resident bartender, about that." And I'm like, what a lovely way to include him. It's not forced, it's not negative, it's not coming at him. It's just saying like, "Oh, I know you know something about this. Let's see if we can invite you into this conversation." Nobody else did that shit. Brock is he's the kid I want to meet on a playground. You know what I mean? He's not
Okay,
going to go sit in a corner with the other boys and be like, "Yeah, look at them." He's like,
okay.
let's think of a way that we can include this new person who must be deeply uncomfortable because everything's
You know,
insane.
you're right. I was so horrified and, like, Velcroed to Lala's behavior that that's all I could see until they started talking that Scheana started talking about Tom. And yeah, so I didn't see that, but you're right. You're right. He did do that. I don't think that the um wait, before I jump there, yeah, Lala starts her interrogation of Dan. And when it just struck me so much as gross when she was asking him about his relationship history, and her impetus is that she tells us in her confessional, she wants to make sure that whoever comes into her friend group is gonna be legit. What? I was like, "Sure, Jan. Gif." Like, listen, GIF, sorry. She she Randall Emmett.
She is just absolutely, she has no credibility to be vetting anyone. If anything, again, it's just, it's the slightest tweak on this behavior. She could have said, like, look, I brought a real piece of shit into this group, so I'm sensitive to who is coming in now because I made a real mess with who I insisted everybody fall in love with. So I'm going to ask you some questions just to spare myself what I inflicted on these people. There's
Mhm.
a way in, and God bless Dan for just he gray rocked. He was just like, yes, my last relationship was 5 years ago. I don't know why it ended. I'm 40. He works like a maniac, like
Mhm.
workaholic borderline.
Does real
7
work,
yeah,
unlike
7
Tom
days a
Sandoval.
week training people, being of service, and then
Yeah.
double shifts at a bar on Saturday. Like he's and again, so take away any like he's there for the money. No, 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 no. He works like crazy and I don't know. She just was so out of line and it was really unpleasant. And it just reads as to me, it reads like something's wrong with her. I don't feel well when she's on screen right now because
Yeah.
something you don't behave like that if you're okay. So
She's in her dry drunk cups.
you're so right.
She's
You're
in her
exactly right.
she's in her non-alcoholic rosé dry drunk cups. I just don't know another way to she's focusing on all these other people to make
Yes.
her serenity happen.
Well, and she's focusing on them to build herself up. Look what's wrong
Mhm.
with all of you, which must
Mhm.
mean I'm okay. And
Mhm.
that's addict thinking and behavior.
100%. 100%.
And but I will say one more thing about this lunch. I did love that it's coming because in our era, this was never on screen. where sober people ordered drinks because they got 7 beers and then a Coke and a Diet Coke for the
Mhm.
sober people at the table.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think in my youth I ever saw that happen unless it was a big deal, which was like, is dad going to drink at dinner tonight in some
Oh,
Lifetime movie? And, he
yeah.
ordered a soda water and everyone rejoices. This was
Oh
just
my
like, this is
god.
how we do. And
Yeah.
I like that part of it, but you're
Yeah.
right. She is a dry drunk. So boo.
She's I in my opinion, she's and I'm not supposed to take anybody's inventory, but I'm not in a meeting right now. I'm on my podcast and I'm taking Lala's inventory.
Well, and
And she
as
can
she
tell
would
me that
say,
yeah.
but she at the end has very strong feelings about what your responsibilities are as a reality star. So if her responsibility as a reality star is to put it all out there, then it's out there to be commented on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is just opinions, and opinions are like assholes and all that.
Bruh. Totally. Um, Allie asks Dan what attracted him to Ariana. Well, at least this was in the Peacock version. I don't remember this part being in the Bravo
It was
version.
not in the Bravo
Okay.
version, but
That's
I
too
got to
bad.
watch it this morning, and yeah,
Mhm.
it really, again, that's why I got on here and I was like, I love that Dan.
Me
I
too.
love that Dan.
So Allie asks Dan, "What attracted you to Ariana?"
Which is such a
And
sweet, thoughtful question,
such a sweet,
as
thoughtful
opposed to
question.
Lala, who's like, "Do you want children?"
Right,
Allie's
exactly.
like,
"How
"What do
old
you
are
like
you?
about our
What do you
friend?"
do?" Right, exactly, exactly. And I you know, there's this big group of people. He is the only person of color at that lunch. I know what that feels like. It doesn't feel it can feel real strange, you know, especially when you're with a new group of people. And the fact that he came in with a very real story, he got in fights when he was coming up in New York because he was called racial slurs. He and, they were in a big group of people, Ariana, when she first met Dan, and he was talking about race, and she was empathetic to his experience growing up. And he saw a good person in that. And I loved that. It wasn't, "Oh,
Yeah.
she was hot," or "She was wearing a bangin' dress." It's like, I saw I saw who she is at her core.
And it sounded like vice versa when Ariana answered the question,
Mhm.
she was like, "I noticed he listened. I noticed he didn't overtalk. I noticed he wasn't waiting for his chance to get in there and say something. He was just trying to understand and be present for a conversation amongst a group of women," she pointed out,
Yeah.
where a lot of, it can happen that men will find a group of women and come in and hold court. It just,
Bruh.
dynamics that are long standing,
Seriously,
but he doesn't abide
seriously.
by those, and she noticed that and liked that, so
Yeah,
I love that.
I did too. I loved those questions. I thought it was great. And James asks Dan, "Have you met Sandoval yet?" He says no, and he has not heard good things.
Yes, and he
And
gives
that's it.
this perfectly diplomatic answer of, "I don't know him, but I know what he's done."
Yeah.
And then Scheana tries to pitch that she put something in perspective for Sandoval and really saw the mask fall and saw him say that, he really needs to think about apologizing for an unconscionable violation of your partner's privacy. Like, if you have to think about it, you've already failed. And the fact that Scheana is giving him runway for this is just like, what? You said it. He weaponized her mental health. He weaponized not mental health, he weaponized suicidal ideation. That is really dark. And he did it knowingly because, as we all know, he knows when the cameras are on and he knows that he's performing. And that there should be any applause for him considering that that was a bad move and maybe apologizing. Like, it just next level. And later, again, this was my Kaiser Soze moment when he says, "This is what we do in the finale." I was like, oh my God. He didn't even really think he should apologize for that. He just thought, oh, that'll be good for the finale episode for
It
me to
was
say sorry about your suicide.
loud and clear, loud and clear. I have a lot to say on that
Go off.
when we get
Oh,
to the final scene. But yeah. Um Ariana doesn't understand why Scheana is telling her this. How many times can she set the boundary that she doesn't want to hear about him? And Scheana has her own agenda. She wants Ariana's blessing to resume her relationship with Tom Sandoval. And Ariana is not going to give it to her. and Scheana doesn't know how she's going to, you know, choose these friendships one
And
over the other. I just I can't. I
it all
can't.
comes back to Tom Sandoval, though. Making Ariana be the arbiter of this sucks because she didn't do anything wrong and now she's being villainized for setting a boundary. Sheena is not in reality about who Tom Sandoval is and what he did. And so she's trying to get things back to, you cannot go back to, he did that thing for 8 months and only stopped because he got caught and still doesn't see what's wrong. And I really loved Katie for pointing out when a guy fucks over your friend, fuck the guy. Like, it's that simple, at least right now. Maybe not for the long term, but within the first year, that's the rule. It just has to
Right.
be for everyone's safety and recovery. Like, it just seems like that's a fair thing for Ariana to
They
request.
they grew up together, I would argue.
They
You
did
know what
that
I'm
sad
saying?
montage at the end.
Right? They grew up together, and I'm even referring to Tom and Ariana.
Mm.
They went through a profound decade, you know? Not that every decade isn't profound, but, like, from 20s to 30s is, like, when you theoretically, like, shed those last teenage years and you become, like, an adult. 10 years.
And they became
Business
stars together. They
business
became,
partners, like,
yeah.
yeah,
And there
and
was
she
real
bought
love
it
there.
all.
Yeah.
She bought it all.
Bought it, meaning
She was
believed him.
in. She was in.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
because it
and that's what's so tricky, like you said, it's grooming. I believe he really, really did love her, and then he started to love his image more than anything, and that's when he started to, uh, craft this, just manipulate everybody, try to get Raquel to stick to some timeline that would make it more palatable for this to have happened, but the whole plan was to wait till after the reunion to break up with Ariana and then get like, it was just so everything became calculated, everything. And it wasn't initially, and that's what's so confusing. It's like he wasn't that bad when they first got together. We loved them both, and now he's become a really, yeah, just a hollow soulless husk.
husk is good, a husk. I just thought of something. I bet he fell out of love with Ariana when she started becoming someone who wasn't a yes man or who wasn't just an extension of him, that she was, because as you get older, you become, well, ideally, what I've seen from my friendships and the adults in my life, like, we all grow and evolve, and he isn't capable of growing and evolving because he's not honest with himself, possibly for constitutional reasons. He could be incapable of it, but Raquel, much younger than him, this new woman he's dating, much younger than him. When when you pass the adoration phase of being in a relationship with him, he's probably gonna wanna move on.
Well, Andy's a control freak, and he
Right.
stopped being able to control Ariana,
Yep.
and, Raquel was controllable until she got out of his grasp at a rehab place where he couldn't reach her,
Right.
and yeah, no, he needs control of his partners, including Tom Schwartz, you know what I mean? And Tom
Totally.
Schwartz's codependency was on full display in this
God,
episode.
it
In
was
fact,
ugly.
here he says he tries the "he's a good person who did a bad thing" bit, and Ariana, God bless her, is not having it. She's like, "No, he made us for 8 months, he did a horrible thing and thing upon thing upon thing." And Schwartz, like, fumfers around, and I hated him. It was so belittling. He used Ariana's word subhuman, you know? He's like, "He did a bad thing. He did an awful thing. He did t it was subhuman." And he said it in like, "Is that better? You angry lady, will that calm you
Oh,
down?" It was
God.
so
Oh,
patronizing and
God.
gross. And yeah, he really his yeah,
He's the worst.
he's really he was hard to take this episode. But Lala then does this whole bit about again, you spot it, you got it. She's describing herself. She says Ariana is putting on a cool girl persona. Oh, Ariana's doing that? Okay, Lala.
Right?
But
Right?
once the Sandoval's a monster, Ariana's a victim time comes to a close, she'll enter a grieving process and she doesn't want to deal with mourning. Right. Like anybody, like any human being, none of us do. It's why you were an addict, Lala. Remember when your dad died and your alcoholism got out of control? Because you were trying to avoid grieving, because everyone does, because all human beings want to put off, if not completely avoid pain, and it will come and get you when you can no longer outrun it and or when you're ready. So give her a minute. Oh my God.
Yeah. My note was no shit, Lala.
Yeah,
No
duh.
shit. No shit.
And how
I
would you suggest she proceed? That
exactly.
she just like sit down and really think about how like she I don't know what Lala wants. She just doesn't want Ariana to have any attention. I think it might
She
boil down to
doesn't.
that.
She
Or she
doesn't.
wants what Ariana has, and rather it's what the difference between jealousy and envy is. Jealousy is I want what you have, and envy is I have to kill you because you have what I want. And I think she is in
Oh.
deep envy right now, and it's
100%.
it's consuming her.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally. Head to toe green like the Hulk. She's
yeah.
head to toe green with envy. Yeah, and then Katie again is the fucking she is just the no bullshit goat this whole season. She remains my favorite.
Mhm. Yeah, no,
She's not
this
perfect.
episode, she really creamed of the cropped herself.
So, in response to Brock, I don't even know what he said about Sandoval at the end to make Katie call him out, and
He
correctly, I might
said
add.
he said, "You guys are discounting the friendship that my wife had with him and how hard this is for her." And Lala said, "That's okay, you're just defending your wife." And Ariana said, "Actually, Katie is defending your wife. Katie is trying to spare your wife a similar amount of pain that I'm going through by reminding everyone who Tom Sandoval is." So,
Right. And
yeah.
it's true. Brock doesn't know what he's talking about. He does not he has been with that group a fraction of the time. We have seen this man's manipulative behavior for years and years and years. And while his motivations are now becoming clearer as his what word as his motivation becomes more and more ego driven. It's like, again, because everything is progressive. You don't arrest things or don't try to arrest them or stop them. The behaviors get more and more egregious. He has no reason to change it. He still has not hit any kind of bottom. And I don't know that he will. Again, I think he's constitutionally incapable of being honest with himself and other people. But my point is that we're all seeing, and his castmates are all seeing, he's a piece of shit. And
Yeah.
Brock hasn't been there the whole time to see that. So,
Well, and they're just in denial still. Like, again,
yeah.
Scheana is in denial of what happened. And Lala, in her own way, is too, saying, but she sort of snaps into reality for a second at the end, but talks herself out of it. She's like, yes, you cheated on someone. Yes, it was really weird how you said things to our faces that were complete and total lies. And you knew, anyways, and then she gets herself worked up to make Ariana the bad guy again. But like, yeah, and Katie says, "You don't know my lived experience." And that's when Brock was like, "You're right. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And that's what he said. He said, "You're right. I'm sorry." And I was like,
Love it.
"Yeah, Brock."
I love it. I love it. I love admitting when someone else is right. And it's
Yeah,
so
it's there's
easy.
so much freedom.
There's so much freedom in it. And it also is so, I mean, like when you genuinely say someone's right, like
Mhm.
Josh and I have really gotten into the habit of doing that a lot lately. And it's just the most healing, generous thing
It's
because
instantly disarming because then no one can
instantly,
be
right,
defensive.
right.
Even if you're still upset or have big feelings around whatever the truth is or is not, just acknowledging like, "Ah, yeah, Brock's just basically acknowledging like what I was saying came from an incomplete place." So
Right. And to
that's
like
all.
validate someone that you care about,
Yeah.
when they have a perspective that you didn't see and it's a good one that is helpful. Like how lovely is it to to show love and appreciation for a person you care about in that way.
Yeah.
So
And then we move on to Scheana and Brock in the hotel room where Brock has arranged for flowers and chocolates in honor of her show night, which I thought was so sweet. And Scheana said she's glad she broached this conversation with Ariana. And I just wrote, oh, Brock is so dumb. And he says, did you tell Ariana you made up with Tom? And Scheana goes, I didn't say we're best friends again because we're not. And Brock just goes, okay. He just looks
God.
like a dog who got hit on the nose with a newspaper. He does not understand what's going on, and he is sure trying. But again, he made the right choice there, which was just to say, okay, and let it be done for the day. Let the focus shift to apples.
Yeah.
APPLES.
Yeah. Schwartz goes to Sandoval's room and tells him that, he gives him a little download about the lunch and says that Dan is rad. And Tom says without a shred of reality, well, she has good taste in men.
It's just a line that would be cut from any
Barf.
sitcom because it's so
Barf.
stupid. And the way he delivered it was he was so proud of himself, so smug, and like,
Fully.
just don't, dude. Just the only thing that I got on board with in this whole episode with Tom Sandoval was when Schwartz pointed out, "Oh, you really like bread bowls." And I was like, "I like bread bowls too."
I
There's
love a sourdough bread bowl.
one thing Sandoval and I have in common. We both really like a bread bowl. If it's on the menu, I'll order it.
Me too.
So that's
Me
where
too.
our Venn diagrams start and end overlap. Then we get Scheana FaceTiming with Lisa Vanderpump,
Yep, we
and
sure
they
do.
discuss Sandoval, and Lisa Vanderpump's asked the question that I find was the most damaging in my life experience and sent me into therapy. And I spent decades and continue to unwind. She asks of Sandoval, do you still love him? And Sheena says yes. And Lisa says, well, there's your answer. Wrong. That has been my problem my whole life. I loved my dad, but my dad was damaging and you know, there were a lot of really troubling behaviors that caused a lot of chaos and problems in my physical and mental well-being. But because I was told he's my dad and you love him, right? I just kept coming back because I thought that's what you do. So Lisa is wrong for everyone's information. You can still love someone and need a lot of space from them. I love my dad very much. And we found a way to, love one another that works, which is mostly not seeing each other or speaking. But on the rare occasions that we do, we either are able to tolerate one another, or if we don't, we leave and nobody cares. And now he has dementia, so he doesn't even know.
Mm,
So it's great. But
God.
my point is that conversation really struck me as like, how dare you reduce it to that, Lisa? If only it were that simple. I love so many people and still do. I love tons of people who are no longer in my life, love them and loved them for decades when they were intimately part of my life. And I still think about them, which means I still love them. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference.
Yeah.
So if they cross my goddamn mind, it means I still love them. But I cannot and do not want to touch that. It is only harmful. So it's not that simple. Love is, love, to borrow Katie's word, love is more nuanced than just you love him. Yes, there's your answer.
Completely.
Ariana still
Completely.
loves Tom, unfortunately. And it's taking a while. It will take a lifetime to, otherwise, it wouldn't be hard to leave
Right. Right.
and it would be
Right.
easy to stay. But love is not an excuse for abuse.
Oh my God. Oh, it just made me so mad. Like she had to insert herself in this episode when she had no reason to. There was no reason for her to do this. She was producing. She was producing with Scheana and Lala. I wonder if Scheana is a little bit of a pawn too.
Oh,
And
for
Sheena's
sure.
Sheena's just a little too not uh, how do I say this in a kind way?
She's with Brock for a
Okay,
reason.
okay, that's a very kind way of saying it. Like Lala understands the assignment. Scheana just thinks that LVP cares about her enough to like want to check in with her while they're in San Francisco. She wanted to wish me good luck before my big performance.
Oh, boy. Oh,
Oh,
Scheana.
Scheana. Yeah, fucking and LVP had to be on again. She's gonna side with Tom's what's gonna be better for Tom Sandoval versus Ariana. This woman has no loyalty. She don't care about other women. Sorry,
Her
that was terrible,
loyalty
Ramona. That was a terrible Ramona Singer.
her loyalty is to this show, and I think she thinks finding a way to keep Sandoval. I don't know what she's thinking, but yeah, it was not, again, not a pure moment,
No,
this conversation.
no.
This was a produced moment, and it felt gross, and everything she said infuriated me, as did everything that Lala and Katie talk about. Lala and Katie talk, and she's pushing for Ariana to let Scheana be the exception to this boundary that she set, once again, because Tom Sandoval acted out and, blew up her life. But Lala seems to think that that is putting pressure on Scheana. And Sandoval put pressure on Scheana. Any pressure Scheana feels is because Sandoval created this dynamic. So I just can't, with Lala continually coming at Ariana. It's really, yeah, it's bad.
She is she's man, she needs to do a major fourth step on this. A mini fourth step.
Yeah, she does. And this is where Katie's notes that Sandoval did not do a bad thing, that he made choices for months that caused catastrophic damage. And yeah, he made vile decisions to feed his appetites and consciously screw everyone over.
Mhm.
So Lala, again, does not have any firm ground to stand on here, but she is just dug in. So, okay.
Yeah, and she's not acknowledging any of her choices, you
And I
know?
just am confused. Like, what do you want? It's like, I've
Right.
had these conversations with people in my life where they say, "You always do this and you always do that and you never do this." And my answer is always like, tell me how you would have liked me to react to what you just said. Just tell me, give me the script." And they never can, because it's not about that. It's like they're antsy about something else and I'm
Right.
bringing up something in them that they don't like. And so they don't have the answer. They just need to be mad at everyone else because they're uncomfortable. And it's like, and it's fine, but it's just not, there's no, it's not, the reality is not that this is Ariana putting pressure in any way, shape, or form. This is, I don't know what Lala's reality is, but
I
it's
don't either,
weird.
dude. I don't want any part of that reality.
No
No,
thanks.
thank you. Yeah. Oh yeah, yoy. Um,
Then we
we've
have, yeah,
yes, no, you go. You go. Yeah.
Tom and Tom. And this is where Schwartz's codependency was on full display, uh, asking if Sandoval thinks that he could apologize for weaponizing suicidal ideation. And Sandoval says, "I think that's something I could do." It's like,
My
okay,
God.
thank
My
God.
God.
And then Schwartz
Yeah.
codependently reminds him not to be defensive. So Schwartz is just like, what's it called? Something hostile victim. That's what I think they call it. And that's what Schwartz is. It's that controlling thing when you feel like you've been victimized, and Schwartz feels like he was victimized by Sandoval, you become a hostile victim, and that's the impetus for your controlling. So he's like, "Do you think you
Oh.
can do this? But do it my way. Do it this way, please. Don't do this, don't do that." It's like, you know,
Oh, Jesus.
yeah.
I I was so rubbed wrong by this scene for so many reasons, but, I can't stand people with ulterior motives, and they just come across like I can see right through it, like, immediately, and he admits to us on camera during the scene that he wants the tension to subside. That is his motivation for wanting to apologize, in quotes, because it's not a real apology that he wants to give. If your apology, if you wanting to right something isn't coming from a pure place of legit wanting to right a wrong, then you have no business doing this. He he doesn't want to take responsibility. He doesn't he it's not like he feels like absolute scum of the earth because of what he did. He can watch it back at any fucking time. He can watch back what he did. And he wants to apologize to make the tension subside. Not because, my God, I shared 10 years of my life with this woman. We bought a home together. She harvested her eggs so that we could potentially have a child in the future that she was going to do for me. We had, a business together, the book or whatever else they were doing. But no, he wants to make the tension subside. I fucking can't stand this man.
It's
He
totally self-serving. You're absolutely right.
completely,
He wants
completely.
to apologize because he's uncomfortable now, and
Yep.
it's been long enough for him. So I'm
Right.
just gonna say something, anything,
Mhm.
even though I don't
Mhm.
really think it was that bad what I did about
Yep.
whatever. Yeah,
Oh
no,
God.
he's really gross. And his whole, I mean, talk about a dry drunk, maybe. His whole trajectory in this second half where he like introduced himself to Dan and he's like so polite about it and then like tries to go after Ariana and tells Scheana like I'm just trying to apologize, then immediately turns to Billy and is like fuck her performative lazy ass, and then 5 seconds later is like works for me ha 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 ha. It's like, oh my God, you are all over the map because you're right. If anything was sincere, it would be consistent. But he is not sincerely apologetic. He is not sincerely feeling any fault or contrition. He's just, he wants it. He wants to feel different. And so he's making everyone else is responsible for that. And if they don't do it his way, then he has to lash out and like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to apologize. But since she won't do that, now I'm going to call her names and I'm going to encourage Lala to go off. And then I'm going to laugh and twirl my mustache and say, that's good for me.
God.
Ugh.
He's gonna Dudley Do Right. No, not Dudley Do Right. He's gonna Snidely Whiplash.
I don't know who that is.
That's the cartoon character from Rocky and Bullwinkle. It was Snidely
Oh,
Whiplash and Natasha. They were like the evil duo, and he had like a crazy curly mustache. Listen, if you were not born in the 70s, I'd say in the early to middle 70s, I don't know if you're gonna get that reference, but they were cute. Yeah, so we finally make it to much the pomp, the hyped up Kyle Chan whiskey party. Oh,
yeah. And
yeah.
we open with Scheana thanking Sandoval for flying out the sound guy. And she goes, you paid for everything? Literally, that's the language she uses. And he smugly says, like, no problem. It's just like, ew. And then we get her confessional where she's hopeless. This is where I just gave up on her completely because she's like, this is the Tom I know and love, like doing nice things for me. But that's just me making it about me. And I'm like, yes, it is. Like,
Yeah,
you're
dude.
not being like sly and cute using that language. Like, you both are so selfish and gross. You deserve each other. Go tour together. And I think Ariana's right. They will burn each other to the ground in time. The second one or the other of them, doesn't play right or according to the controlling rules established by Sandoval, then they will both absolutely burn each other down. So
100%. 100%.
enjoy this time, Scheana.
Exactly. You've always been there for me. You've always been there for me. Like, okay, I don't buy that one bit. So, um this whole I feel like a dick for saying this because like there are times when I know that things are a big deal and when you perform in front of people it's a big deal, but it just reminded me of when Erica Jane said she was making her comeback at Kyle and Mauricio's white party,
At SoFi Stadium.
you
She's like, I
know?
played SoFi
Right.
Stadium. It's like, no, you
Yeah, you
didn't.
played SoFi because someone bought it out and there were like 20 people there.
And you're on a TV
So,
show and they
right.
needed something. So great.
And like I get it. I'm happy for any creative person that gets to engage in their, that gets to partake in like that gets to express themselves creatively in the way that makes their soul sing. I'm happy for that. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
No, our like Lala later in the day. I mean, Beyonce is a running thread in this. Lala later says,
Right.
like, Ariana's asking, like, acting like she's Beyonce. I'm like, Ariana is? Did you see Scheana all day? And like, and as she said, she's never before rehearsed for a performance. Like, come on. So no, she's doing the most to perform. But I always say it takes a great deal of courage to get up on a stage in front of people and do anything. So, like,
Absolutely.
congratulations, but also this was a lot of build up to not a lot of show.
Yeah. Uh,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I all I have is that James and Allie were so cute on the red carpet. Dan and Ariana arrived. They look stunning together. And then my next note of heft, I don't know, weight, importance, I don't know, is that, I really I want to remain in reality about James. I understand that when he and Kristen Doty were in a relationship together, they were both different people and they were both extremely shackled in their toxicity. It seems like both of them have grown to an extent. I'd say that James has probably grown more than Kristen.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Watching The
yeah.
Valley, I'm
I
not sure
I
Kristen has evolved, but
I
James
can't.
for sure.
Yeah, that I'm gonna have to. I believe you because I can't watch The Valley. My time is too
Don't.
fresh, and
Mhm.
those people make me sad,
Depressing.
itchy. Um, he seems like a much better person with Allie. He doesn't seem like a their conversations just seem natural and organic. And whereas whenever we would watch he and Rachel, throughout the years, it seemed so forced and contrived and inauthentic, and you know what it was, Margie? They were never relaxed together. Now, Rachel has said that James had moments of being extremely, like quasi-abusive to her. My point is that Rachel, yeah, they never seemed grounded together. Allie and James seem grounded. James seems like a better person with Allie. He seems like someone that, when you hear or see in a rom-com, like, "He makes me wanna be a better person." Like, it really feels like he is living that. He wants to be a better person for her and because of her, and I love seeing that. It Yeah. The thing that oh, yeah, and then her security and her self-love really gives him a sense of security, it feels like, and not in a codependent way, because it does feel like James isn't doing things to win Allie over. He's showing up for her in ways that make her feel loved and important, like when they go out to watch the sunset and he says, "Oh my gosh, mea culpa about Hippie." And she's like, "Don't worry about it. I know. And I know that you love me and you're there for me and I understand." And then she says, "Listen, I didn't really think about getting married, but when I do, I want to marry you." You know, they seem like they're really good for each other. And again, they met very quickly after he and Rachel dissolved their engagement. Um, the thing too that struck me is that it's really evident that he has grown so much, but he doesn't have to fucking talk about it. Whereas Lala has not grown. In fact, she seems like she's regressing or she's arrested, but she's always going to talk about it. She's going to talk
I
about
think Lala
it.
is doing what she's accusing Ariana of doing. I think Lala is avoiding the mourning process of the years she lost with Rand, the life that she now has to
Oh,
live that he will always be a part of because they had a child. She's avoiding her mourning process by getting all up in everyone else's business. So, congratulations. It'll work till it doesn't. And,
dude.
see you when it crashes down, like as it does on all of us. But
Right.
I agree. I think James has been he's why I love reality TV. So we met him with Kristen when he was a full-blown alcoholic. We went through his relationship with Rachel where he was pulling out of that, but relapse is part of recovery and he relapsed
Right.
a bunch
Right.
and he was controlling. That was his effort of in a relationship, I will try to be controlling to hold on to love and it didn't work. And something is different with Allie. Like I believe him when she says, you know, he lets himself make mistakes with her. Like he said, I know I said hippie was my priority and I didn't mean that. You're my priority. And, the only thing I worried about was Allie says she's not ready to get married yet, but when she is, she wants to marry him. And he immediately it was really cute. He got like really giddy and you could tell he's genuinely in love with her. But the episode opened reminding us that James was in tears about he wants kids. And Allie says, I don't feel called for that. So, yes, she wants to marry him, but there's a very particular part that's still absent that brings him to tears in his confessional, saying he expected his life to shape up like his dad's did, fall in love at 24, have kids at 28. And he says, my dad had me at 28 and burst into tears. So kids is something that means something to him. And I don't know if it will forever, if it's just like he's working through, because having a kid won't heal the brokenness in his relationship with his parents. And I don't know. I don't know. But I did just, my heart still felt incomplete as much as I love watching them together and I believe in their love and I'm fucking rooting for them. I actually really want them to go the distance. Something in my heart is like, oh, but he seems to be unresolved about kids. And she seems clear that it's not
Yeah.
her calling. And obviously everything could change. They're both quite young, but I don't know. It was
Yeah.
a little bit bittersweet,
I
because I loved
mean,
it so much, and I was like, "Oh, but you're still crying about babies."
I know. And yeah, like you hit the nail. Having children doesn't if anything, it's going to shine a huge bright fluorescent like floodlight onto whatever issues you have around your relationship with your parents and your looking back at your own childhood.
And
That's,
part of that I
you
find
know,
miraculous because,
yeah.
like, this whole lots of my therapy has been about, like, reparenting and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
there is something to having an actual physical body to watch. Because then you think about, like, when I was that age, this so and so made a choice to do this? When I was that age? Like, whoa, that's really like, so you get a real, like, embodiment and also the enormous stressors and demands and constant need fulfillment of a tiny
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
is gonna put an enormous amount of pressure on any flaw in any
Mhm.
person or relationship. So
Mhm.
I don't know if
Mhm.
James is meant for that anyways, because
I
he's,
know.
sensitive and susceptible to
Yeah.
unregulated reactions, but
Yeah.
they're not there yet. He's 32. He's got like at least 10 years before, you know, he needs to consider if fatherhood is really important to him.
I mean, I know a handful of dads that became first-time dads at 52,
Oh, it's happening all
you
over the
know? Yeah.
place.
So, yeah, he's got lots of time. Whether
Yeah.
and yeah, that's the other thing, like, he needs to let go of whatever timeline he thought he needed to stick to because life doesn't work like that, and if it does, it's just you're gonna be tightly wound like a Vicky Gunvalson or a Kyle Richards or something, like, oh,
But I think
pass.
I wondered if that wasn't what brought the tears up, is that was him letting go of, like, I'm not gonna get
Mm.
married, I'm not gonna have a baby at 28. Because he follows that up by saying it, and I wouldn't change anything. I would tell a younger James, "You're gonna go through a lot of shit before
Oh
you
my
find someone
god.
who you really love and who really loves you." And 28 is not the marker for that. It's something intangible, So part of me wondered if he was just if that was the release of, like, the dream of being 28 just like my dad and doing it like he did it is dead. That dream is dead. But in its place is Allie, who rules, who
Right.
loves Hippie now. She's like, "I can't wait
It's
to get home to Hippie."
so much better, I
My
know.
god.
The whole time you were just talking about James having to let go, like, I was holding my heart because I don't think people understand how profound and powerfully healing it can be to reframe a situation that you're in that's causing you heartache or pain or stress and ask, like, what would you tell your younger self right now? How would you comfort your younger self through this? The fact that James, if he learned that from a therapist or from a self-help book, he really took it in. And if he came up with that, like, question to ask himself by himself, that is massive growth, and that is real emotional maturity, in my humble opinion. I thought it was just such a heart-melting sentiment. It was vulnerable and profound.
And he really has been through it, and we got to watch all of it. We got to watch him down Fireball, and we got to watch him lose his job 10,000 times, get it back, like,
We had
figure
to
out what
watch his
California's.
parents.
Oh god, yeah.
His parents. I mean, we see it. We see where he comes from.
And you also see how attached he is, like, we never stop wanting to please and get the approval of our parents, like, that I'm convinced that's biology, like,
Mm,
just
mm,
I don't think there's any way around it, it's just about managing it so you don't make
totally,
self-destructive choices to try to manipulate that to be so if they're not available to do that.
totally.
But, yeah, no, yeah, he came out a real winner this
He
season,
really
I thought.
did. He really
I
did.
really
He
liked
really
him
did.
here.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
holding firm boundaries with Sandoval because he's had as many conversations as he can. They've all hit a brick wall. And now, after the El Rey, confrontation, he said, "I'm sorry for being rude. And this is it now. We have this relationship. We're cordial friends who show up for each other. And I don't trust you, and I'm not going to get to know you any deeper, but we'll do this." And like, good for James.
Completely.
Damn.
Completely.
Ramona and Margee are
Obviously.
not doctors and do not provide medical advice. Their content is intended to be used for entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be, should not be interpreted as, or used as a substitute for medical advice or a diagnosis of any health or fitness problem, condition, or disease, nor a recommendation for a specific test, doctor, care provider, procedure, treatment plan, product, or course of action.
My mom isn't a doctor.